Hello again. This video is about Alex de la Iglesia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I wrote it down, so if you want to look this guy up, you can freeze this frame and copy that down, find all your links. Alex de la Iglesia. He's a Spanish film director, and I want to talk a little bit about why I think he's important. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to try and tell you why I think he should be important to you, but I am going to lay out just a few facts about my own collection and about my own history watching films that you may find a little bit persuasive in persuading you to perhaps check this guy out and consider that he may be important to you if you watch his films. And first I want to just say that I watch and collect a lot of films, and so many that there really isn't a count or any sort of system or order to my piles of films. But if you envision Scrooge McDuck diving into the money bin, I have this bin of DVDs that I've accumulated. And I would guess that I have somewhere between, at the low end, 500, and at the high end, probably less than 1,000 films in my collection. But I don't really collect films by director. Now, it happens that if you're a great director, I might wind up with quite a few of your films. For example, I've never really set out to collect Alfred Hitchcock's films, but I think I have 6 or 7 of them just because they're such classics that I wound up getting them at one point or another because I found the price irresistible or some other reason. So it's like I never set out to collect all of Laurel and Hardy's films, but I have most of them. Just for example. But one thing I don't do is I usually don't collect films by director, and I especially don't collect modern directors. The only 2 directors that I've collected previous to, well, I shouldn't say 2. Okay, let's put it this way. I collect 2 modern directors, and I have complete collections of Mario Bava's films and of Russ Meyer's films. I think I'm missing one on Russ Meyer. But the only 2 modern directors I collect are Stephen Chow, director of Kung Fu Hustle, and Alex de la Iglesia. And this is from a person that has over 500 films. You know, I don't collect modern directors generally. I enjoy the films of the Coen brothers, but I just go see them in the theater. And if I want to watch one again, it's right there. It's on my Netflix or it's on demand someplace. So I don't need to own that. You know, although I do own several Coen Brothers films that I just need to own. I mean, I needed to own. You need to own a copy of The Big Lebowski so you can play it whenever you want. And Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I needed to own that. But I don't collect modern directors. However, Alex de la Iglesia, I literally saw one film of his. The film was called The Last Circus, and after watching that one film I said, I have to own every film that this director makes. That was an instant decision, and I've got 8 of his. This director has made, I just consulted a little of my research because I counted it up today on the web. He's made 15 feature films. One of them is a documentary, so you could say he's made 14 fictional feature films and 1 documentary feature film. And he's made a short film. And he also directed, I believe, a season of a science fiction comedy show. So that's his total output. Out of that total of 15 films, I have 8 of them. And I've seen 8 of them. And many of the ones I have, I've seen twice. A couple of them I've seen 3 times since acquiring them. And so, and do I regret my decision to buy instantly on site any, or trade for any film by this director, to pursue them and own them? Do I regret that? No, not at all. I do not. His films are all effing brilliant. So he's one of the most fun directors to follow. His films are completely unpredictable and wild and over the top, and in a great way, and in a completely unique way. Alex de la Iglesia is like a blend of David Lynch with the Coen brothers, with a little bit of Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino thrown in, and he's a wild man of cinema, and I love his work. And I just found out in my recent research that he started out as a comic book artist, And I'm a comic book artist, at least part-time, semi-professional comic book artist. And it doesn't surprise me that he started out as a comic book artist, because he has a very visual take on things, and his visuals in many of these films are just incredible. So I see that in his work very much. It doesn't surprise me. I'd like to track down some of his comic book art and see what his artistic drawings look like. I think that would be very interesting to find out. But so getting to the point, I'm going to talk about his overall body of work in a separate video, because I already tried to make this video once and it got too long. So I'm going to take this list of his films and put that in a separate video. And for the rest of this film, all I'm going to talk about is his new film, The Bar, which came out in 2017. The Bar, and I just saw it this last week. Just acquired a copy in a trade. It's an amazing film, and I'm trying hard. There was a big pause there because I don't want to give you any spoilers, and it's very hard to talk about Alex de la Iglesia film and not give spoilers, because all of his films are very different, and all of them contain wild, crazy twists, and you want to tell people that this wild, crazy, incredible thing happened, but if you tell them, it lessens the enjoyment. So there's so many of those moments in these films, I don't want to spoil any of them for you, but let me just see what I can say about The Bar in a vague sense without ruining it for you. The Bar is a comedy, no, not comedy. It has a sense of humor, but I wouldn't say it's a comedy horror movie. I would say it's a horror thriller movie. It's probably more thriller than horror, although it has some very grotesque elements. And in fact, excuse me, there's a scene in there that is so, let me take a drink. Pardon me for that, trying to clear my throat. There's a scene in The Bar that is not at all gory, it's not at all sexual. It doesn't have pus or boogers or anything like that, or excrement, but there's a scene in The Bar that is makes you cringe so much that my wife, who is a veteran watcher of horror movies and thrillers, who watches, zombie movies and people being eaten, she's not timid, right? My wife jumped up off the couch and said, "I can't take it," and walked out of the room because of what was going on in that scene, despite the fact that there was zero gore, zero sexuality, zero slime element. It was all acting. And my wife couldn't take it. It was hard for me to take. It'd be hard for you to take. When you get to that scene in this movie, you're going to know exactly what scene I'm talking about. And there's some extremely intense and cringe-inducing moments in this movie. I'll tell you a little bit about the plot without any spoilers. Is that the plot involves a young woman who's walking down the street in Spain, I believe Madrid, going to meet a date that's been set up through some phone app, dating service. She's going to meet someone from Match or something, and her phone is dying, and she stops into this little diner/bar. My wife and I both thought it looked more like a small town diner than a bar, but the title of the film is The Bar, and they do have hard liquor there. They do serve alcohol there. So apparently in Spain there are a lot of these little bars that serve food as well as liquor, and do like breakfast and lunch and are open all day, which is something we don't really have so much of in America. In America, there's more of a demarcation line between restaurant and bar, and most of the restaurants that serve liquor aren't open early in the morning for breakfast. But that's a complete tangent. So this woman's phone is dying, and this little bar apparently has a sign or something that says you can charge your phone there if you're a customer. And so she goes in to get a drink and to charge her phone, and she get a coffee or something, and because it's early in the morning, and there's people in there eating breakfast, and there's a student on his computer drinking a coffee, and there's this weird homeless guy that's kind of babbling a lot of nonsense, but isn't too bad, who comes in, and the management is like tolerating him hanging around there because they're kind of, friendly towards the homeless guy. They know who he is. But it's a typical scene in this little bar in Madrid, and then something happens. And I can't tell you what, it's a big spoiler. But these random people and this woman who just went in there to charge her phone get stuck together in this bar, trapped together, so to speak, by this extremely mystifying and extremely deadly thing that immediately kills one person. And then another person that tries to leave the bar and deal with it in a particular way that is wrong is also immediately killed. And so then the rest of the people are terrified in this bar, and they're isolated from the rest of, I can't tell you how, but they're isolated from the rest of the world. And nobody seems to be trying to help them, and nobody seems to be trying to explain to them what's going on. And the entire situation is both deadly, terrifying, and mystifying. And just when you think you've got this movie figured out, it does something completely different. It is constantly swerving around hard angles that you do not see coming. And I can tell you that this movie involves some things that you never expect and never see coming. And there is that, not just that one huge cringe-inducing scene, but there's enough scenes that make you cower in your seat or go like this, that, and it's not gory. It's all done with acting, but there are enough scenes that make you cringe that I have to call this a horror thriller, not just a thriller, even though there's no supernatural element in it. But there's a very mystifying element in it. And it's even though it's not supernatural, it's somewhat like a Twilight Zone, if that's a good explanation, because it's so mystifying, and the events that come cascading one right after another are so strange. So I'm giving a big 4-star, 2 thumbs up endorsement to the bar, which is not surprising because I love the work of this director. And like I said, I've seen 7 of his films before seeing The Bar. I've now seen 8 out of 15. And he's one of my favorite directors in the world, and I would never miss a new film of his that comes out. If I hear about it, if I have the chance, if I'm physically capable to get a copy or to see it or to go see it in the theater, I will, because Alex de la Iglesia is great and he's amazing. And that's my review of The Bar. I can't really tell you any more about it than that, but it is an edge of the seat movie. Once you get into it, it starts out very placid and normal. The first 15 or 20 minutes, it's very much routine, slice of life, of ordinary life. And then once things start twisting and twisting and twisting, it is an edge of the seat movie, and you cannot take your eyes off it. So, and you have to know what's going to happen next. So that's my review for the movie. The Bar is as high as it comes. 4 thumbs up. 4 thumbs up. All 4 of my thumbs. So thanks, and I'm going to split this into another video where I talk about his other films. So if you want to hear more about it, click on that one too. Otherwise, I'll see you later.